Ladies and gentlemen, today is Thursday, the 2nd of June, and today Mojang released a new snapshot for Minecraft 1.10. And to the surprise of I think almost everybody, this turned out to not be a regular weekly snapshot, but actually the first pre-release for Minecraft 1.10, pre-release 1. That makes this version with 15 days from the first snapshot to the first pre-release the quickest development cycle yet. This being a pre-release indicates that from now on they don't intend to make any major changes, and that Minecraft 1.10 is probably coming out pretty soon, so this version also contains mostly bug fixes. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, my name is slicedlime. Let me take you on a guided tour of Minecraft 1.10 pre-release 1. Let's start with blocks. There's falling dust particles added onto the underside of hanging blocks that would fall if updated. That was added in one of the previous snapshots, but those particles could go through blocks underneath. They now collide with other blocks, so you won't get fooled by that anymore. The new Nether Wart blocks had some problems. You couldn't place anything on them, you couldn't set them on fire, and mobs couldn't pathfind properly around them. All of this was caused by the fact that they were not considered solid. Now they have been made properly solid, which means that they can now be pushed by pistons and water doesn't destroy them anymore. There's a bunch of fixes to world generation as well, specifically villages. There was a bunch of errors with how the grass paths would generate instead of like gravel. They could generate path blocks underneath stairs, for instance, and gravel would spawn instead of grass paths around wells and under trees. There was also a problem where sometimes there would be tall grass or even flowers on top of the path. That has now been sorted out. Villages in savanna and taiga biomes have now been switched over to use the correct type of fence, matching the wood that the rest of the village is built in. There's also some news for the inhabitants of said villages. Villagers wouldn't run away from zombies during the day, they now do, and the villagers used to be completely uncaring about being attacked by husks. Now they properly run away from husks as well. One thing that hasn't been listed from the previous snapshots that's an interesting change is that when a village spawns, there's a 2% chance now that it will spawn as a zombie village instead of a regular village. However, there is a problem with these zombie villages, and that is that the zombies inside them could despawn. That has now been sorted out so that the zombies spawn with the persistent tag set and will remain until the end of time, or until a player shows up and kills them. Talking about zombies and AI, there's a lot of fixes to AI and pathfinding. In the snapshot from last week, they claimed to have fixed pathfinding not caring about magma, but they hadn't. Now they've actually fixed it, together with a bug where mobs would spawn on top of magma blocks, and the witches that wouldn't drink a fire resistance potion while they were on a magma block, they now do. Speaking about mobs taking fire damage, if a mob was on fire it wouldn't jump into water when there was water nearby, they now do. And speaking about mobs jumping into water, the oxygen value of mobs was set too low, which means that they drowned far too easily, and that has now been sorted out as well. There's some more fixes to pathfinding. Pathfinding would be confused by grass paths. That is no longer the case, and the polar bears would get stuck inside of blocks when they tried to chase down a player. Now, in this version there's also a whole bunch of new sound events added, for husks, for strays, and for wither skeletons. Now do note that these are sound events, and they don't as of yet have any sounds connected to them, but this at least indicates that there will be sounds for these events. As far as I can tell, there's still no sound events added for polar bears, however. Let's move on to talking about commands. /TP has been the subject of some controversy. There's a previous video on this channel that shows what the change was in the previous snapshots and what you could do about it. Now the developers over at Mojang have taken a look at all the feedback from the community and decided to undo this change. They've also added a new command, /teleport, which acts just like /TP did in the previous snapshot. So now we sort of have the best of both worlds, but we also have two commands that are similar to the point of confusion. Talking about teleportation, relative teleportation would interrupt flying with Elytra. That has now been sorted out as well. And if you try to use a command that selected a fishing rod bobber, that is a command with an @e selector and a type equals or name equals empty field, that would crash the game, which is now fixed in this version. The new structure blocks also had some problems in their first incarnations. The graphical user interface would accept empty names, but you couldn't type slash or colon into them, but actually you could paste invalid characters into them. So that has now been sorted out together with a bunch of fixes for rotation and the mirroring of various different blocks and entities, such as skulls, signs, banners, end rods, anvils, and item frames. And one final fix to structure blocks: you could not see the borderlines in spectator mode, and now you can. Those are all the fixes for this version. I will also mention one notable problem with this version, and that is when they added the magma block crafting recipe, that is 4 magma cream turns into a magma block. They seem to also at the same time have removed the crafting recipe for andstone bricks. Now the bug report for this is still open. We don't yet know if this is an intended change or not, but if you're going to play this version you might want to be aware that it is no longer possible to craft andstone bricks. That is just one of the potential problems with running a snapshot, so keep that in mind if you want to try this version and try it on a backup of your world or on a test world. If you want to try this out, then it's very simple. Go into your Minecraft launcher, create a new profile, and select Enable Experimental Development Versions Snapshots. Now save, start the game using that profile, and you will be playing the latest snapshot or pre-release version, which is currently this one, Minecraft 1.10 Pre-Release 1. And that concludes our quick tour of this week's pre-release snapshot. My name is slicedlime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, bye bye.